What if you could, like, spend just a few moments with an ancient text, one that didn't just tell stories, but actually shaped a whole civilization, revealed its deepest ideas about power, destiny, heroes, all that stuff.
And, do it without having to wade through thousands and thousands of pages.
Exactly. Well, that's pretty much what we're trying to do today. We're taking a deep dive into the Epic of Kings, better known as the Shahnameh by Firdausi.
Yeah, and this isn't just some old book. It's really the national epic of Iran. It's foundational to Persian culture. We're talking over 60,000 rhyming couplets here.
Wow.
And the sources we've pulled together, they give you this really fascinating glimpse into its world. You get legendary kings, incredibly powerful heroes, and some really, really tragic fates.
So you're about to get a bit of shortcut, really. We'll pull out some of the most famous hero tales, uncover some maybe surprising ideas about ancient Persian kingship, destiny, and this whole cycle of power and revenge that just keeps coming back.
It's an incredible journey, really. And we're just scratching the surface today.
Okay, so where do we start? At the beginning, I guess.
Right, at the dawn of civilization itself, pretty much, with Kaous. He's the very first king in the Shahnameh. The epic says he was like the master of the world. He brought humanity out of, well, savagery.
Civilizing them, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Taught them arts, how to live, even how to dress themselves. In tiger skins, believe it or not. Everyone, men and beasts, they all came to pay him homage.
Sounds pretty idyllic, but I'm guessing it doesn't stay that way.
Not for long. Right from the start, there's this shadow, Ahriman, the evil one. He gets incredibly envious of Kaous' glory.
Ah, the classic conflict.
Right. So Ahriman sends his own son, who's this really formidable div, a demon, basically, to mess things up. And he targets Kaous' beloved son, Saumuk.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Saumuk's tragically crushed in battle. And this sets up that fundamental struggle, good versus evil. It just pulses through the whole epic.
So what happens next? Does Kaous fight back?
Well, yes, but it's interesting how it happens. The angel Siraj warns Kaous. He mourns for a whole year, deeply. But then it's actually his grandson, Husheng, who leads the army.
The next generation steps up.
Exactly. And Husheng completely defeats the Black Div, avenging Saumuk. And only after that vengeance is served, Kaous feels his purpose is done. He lays down to die, and Husheng takes the throne.
So right there, you've got loss and then this pretty immediate bloody vengeance.
That's it. It's the first taste of a core theme in the Shahnameh, this cycle of loss, followed by revenge. It's powerful.
Okay, so we've seen kingship face its first big challenge, but what happens when that power goes really wrong, like totally corrupt?
Well, that brings us to Zohak, and his reign is just horrifying. 1,000 years.
1,000 years, seriously.
1,000 years where basically vice is everywhere, virtue's forced into hiding. And the image that really sticks with you, Zohak has these two grotesque snakes growing out of his shoulders.
Yeah.
It's from Armin's Kiss. And every single day, 2 men have to be killed to feed those snakes. It's just this incredibly stark picture of extreme tyranny, of pure evil.
That's terrifying. How does anyone even survive that? Is there any hope?
Well, interestingly, the story immediately plants the seeds of his downfall. Even while he's at peak power, Zohak has this dream. He sees a young man described as slender, like a cypress tree.
Okay.
And this youth strikes him down with a really specific weapon, a cow-headed mace.
A cow-headed mace. That's unusual.
It is. And the Mubids, his wise men, they're terrified when they interpret the dream. They fearfully identify the youth as Feridun. And Feridun is actually a descendant of Jamshid, the king Zohak originally overthrew.
So destiny's already knocking, even in the dream.
Pretty much. And Feridun's own story, his upbringing, it's almost miraculous. His mother has to hide him away in this dense forest. And for 3 years, he's fed by this amazing cow called Perme.
The cow from the mace?
Possibly connected, yeah. This cow, Permea, is described as having hairs like peacock plumes. Just wondrous. But Zohak eventually finds out about her and kills her.
Oh, no.
So Feridun's mother has to take him even further away, to a hermit living on Mount Albers. It's all about keeping him safe, but it also really emphasizes that he's destined for something big. He's being preserved.
Right. He's the chosen one, essentially. But how does the tide actually turn against Zohak? Does Feridun just show up?
Not quite yet. The real turning point, the spark, comes from someone unexpected. A common man. Kawa the blacksmith.
A blacksmith. Okay, tell me about him.
He's described as blameless, just an ordinary guy, but 17 of his sons have already been fed to Zohak's snakes. And now, they're taking his last one.
17. I can't even imagine.
So Kawa marches right into Zohak's court. demands justice. Zohak tries to make him sign this document, this false testimony, saying Zohak is a just ruler.
You're kidding. After taking 17 sons.
Exactly, and Kaous just explodes. He shouts, "Not so, thou wicked and ignoble man!" He tears the declaration to pieces, throws them down, and storms out.
Wow. That's brave.
Incredibly brave. And then he does something amazing. He takes off his leather blacksmith's apron, puts it on a spear, and uses it as a flag to rally the people.
His apron.
His apron. And that apron actually becomes the royal standard of Iran, the flag of Kaous. It's this incredible aha moment, the people rising up, led by one of their own against unbearable tyranny.
That gives me chills. Okay, so the people are ready. What about Firdausi?
With Kaous' banner raised, Firdausi finally begins his march. He shows his innate authority right away, crosses the Tigris River without the required royal seal, to sheer presence. The people in Jerusalem, where Zohak had built this opulent palace, they flock to him.
So the final confrontation is...
He's about to. He raises the mace to strike Zohak down, but just then, the angel Sohrab appears again.
And tells him to stop. Why?
Sohrab says Zohak's time for death hasn't come yet. His punishment needs to be prolonged, more agonizing.
So what do they do with him?
Firdausi takes him to Mount Damawand, binds him there with massive chains, hammers nails into the rock. The epic describes him just left there, under the baking sun, no shelter, chains biting into him, tongue swollen with thirst, just perishing in agony.
Wow. That's intense. It's not just a victory. It's like cosmic justice.
Exactly. It's a judgment. It frees the world from this oppressive evil. And it really establishes this idea in the Shahnameh that, human heroes are crucial, but ultimate justice, destiny itself, often seems guided by something higher, almost divine.
That makes sense. It's not just might makes right. There's a sense of fate, of a destined purpose being fulfilled.
Precisely. And that idea of destiny, of fated individuals, is so powerful throughout the entire epic.
So after Zohak, Firdausi's reign must have been a golden age, right? Peace and prosperity.
It was, for a long time. Firdausi ruled justly. But as he gets older, he makes a decision. A fateful one, really, that leads to more tragedy. He decides to divide his empire among his 3 sons.
Uh-oh. Dividing kingdoms. That rarely ends well in epics.
You guessed it. He gives Iran to Iri, Rum sort of the west to Selim, and Turan the lands to the east and north to Tur.
And Iri gets Iran, the heartland.
Right. And Iris is depicted as peaceful, content. But his brothers, Selim and Tur, they become incredibly envious of his portion, bitterly envious.
And envy leads to...
murder. Brutal murder. They don't just kill Iris, they sever his head, fill it with musk and ambergris.
Oh, that's gruesome. Wow.
It's incredibly violating. They send the head back to their father, Firdausi, with his mocking message. It's deliberately cruel. And in ancient Persian belief, the king's body held far this divine glory. Dismembering him like that was meant to utterly desecrate him, strip Firdausi himself of his glory through his son's horrific death.
How does Firdausi react?
He's utterly overwhelmed by grief. Falls from his horse, cries out, the whole court mourns. But that deep sorrow, ignites that cycle again.
Vengeance.
Vengeance. Iriji's grandson, Minutshir, grows up knowing this story, vowing to avenge his ancestor.
And does he?
He does. He leads armies against Saum and Tur, eventually defeats them both and beheads them.
So that particular cycle of family bloodshed ends there. For now?
For now, yes.
Yeah.
He closes that specific chapter of intergenerational revenge, but it just reinforces how deeply ingrained that pattern of conflict and retribution is in this world.
Okay, so kings rise, kings fall, vengeance is sought, and amidst all this, Iran's greatest hero emerges.
Exactly. Now we get to Rustem, and even his background is extraordinary. His father, Zal, Zal's story is amazing in itself.
Right, I heard something about white hair.
Yes. Born with pure white hair, which was seen as a terrible omen, so his own father abandons him on a mountain. But he's found and raised by the Simurgh, this giant, mythical, magical bird.
Raised by a giant bird. Okay, that definitely sets the stage.
Right. So Zal eventually rejoins society, becomes this wise and respected governor. And then comes his son, Rustem.
And Rustem inherits some of that otherworldliness.
Oh, definitely. From a ridiculously young age, he shows incredible, almost supernatural strength.
Yeah.
There's a story where, as basically a child, he single-handedly takes down a rampaging white elephant that nobody else could control.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that, it immediately impresses King Minutshir. This raw power earns him his famous title, the Hemten.
Tehemten, what does that mean?
So strong-limbed. It perfectly captures his defining trait, this legendary physical might.
And he needs a horse to match that might, I assume.
He does, and the scene where he chooses his horse, Rakush is just brilliant. He goes through all the herds in Sabulistan and Kabul. He tests horse after horse, just putting his hand on their backs, and they all buckle. They just sink under the sheer weight and strength of his hand until he finds Rakush.
What's special about Rakush?
Rakush is described as a colt, but as strong as an elephant. And his colors are unique, like rose leaves scattered on a saffron ground. Pinkish gold, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And when Rustem tests him, Rakush holds firm.
The perfect match.
The perfect match. Rakush isn't just a horse. He becomes Rustem's loyal companion, almost an extension of himself. Their bond is legendary throughout the epic. Rakush often saves Rustem, warns him of danger. He's crucial.
So even before Rustem's major adventures, his destiny seems kind of marked out. The Samurg connection, the innate strength, finding Rakush.
Absolutely. It all highlights his destined greatness. He's set apart, even from other powerful heroes. The stage is set for his legendary deeds.
Okay, so we have Rustem, this incredible, almost larger-than-life hero, and then who's the Shah now?
The new Shah is Kai Kaous, and unlike Rustem, Kai Kaous, despite his power, is kind of prone to really spectacular mistakes. Vanity, folly, hubris, he's got it all.
Oh, this sounds like trouble waiting to happen.
Big trouble. And Ahriman, the villain, knows exactly how to exploit it. He sends a div, disguised as this amazing singer, to Kai Kaous' court.
A singer?
Yeah, a beautiful singer who describes the land of Mazindran, which is the land of the Deves, remember, as this paradise. Unrivaled beauty, incredible riches, basically irresistible temptation.
And Kai Kaous falls for it.
Hook, line, and sinker. His pride and ambition are ignited. Zal, Rustem's wise father, warns him explicitly. Says it's folly, his hubris, don't do it. But Kai Kaous completely ignores him.
Oh, of course he does. So he invades Mazindran.
Leads this huge expedition, and it's a total disaster. The White Dev, the chief demon of Mazindran, conjures up this dark storm, rains down stones, total chaos. Kai Kaous and his entire army are defeated and blinded.
Blinded! The whole army.
The whole army. Blinded and captured. They're reduced to this wretched state, lamenting their foolishness.
And who do they call for when they're in desperate need? Let me guess. Rustem.
You got it. Rustem is summoned, and he immediately sets out. But he takes the shorter, much more dangerous route to Mazindran, and this journey becomes his famous 7 labors.
The 7 labors. Right.
Okay.
What does he face?
Oh, everything. He fights a monstrous wild ass, then a huge lion, then there's this absolutely terrifying dragon.
A dragon? How does he beat that?
Rakush is key here. His horse, Rakush, actually attacks the dragon first, bites it, distracts it, allowing Rustem to get in the killing blow. Shows that incredible bond again.
Amazing. What else?
He outsmarts some cunning sorcerers. He captures a local guy named Aulad, who then becomes his guide reluctantly at first. He defeats another major Dev named Arzang. And finally, he reaches the big boss, the White Dev.
The one who blinded the army.
That's the one. Their fight is epic. At one point, the White Dev transforms himself into a giant wok to hide.
He turns into a rock.
Yeah. But Rustem, being Rustem, just lifts the entire massive rock, forces the Dev back into his true form, and defeats him.
Incredible strength.
And then, using the White Dev's blood, specifically from his liver, I think Rustem creates a cure that miraculously restores the sight of Kai Kaous and his entire army.
Wow. So Rustem saves the day completely. Surely Kai Kaous learned his lesson this time.
Yeah.
Humility, gratitude.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But no. Almost immediately, Kai Kaous slips back into his arrogance. It's kind of astonishing, really.
Seriously, after being blinded and captured.
Seriously. Rustem, being humble, asks Kai Kaous to fulfill his promise to Aulad, the guide, and give him the crown of Mazindran. Kai Kaous agrees to that. But then...
Oh no, what now?
Then Kai Kaous gets this utterly bonkers idea to try and fly to heaven.
Fly? How?
He builds this throne, ties hungry eagles to it, dangles meat above them. The eagles fly up trying to get the meat, carrying the throne.
That sounds incredibly dangerous and stupid.
It was. It ends, predictably, in disaster. He crashes down somewhere remote, and guess who has to go find him and bring him back?
Rustem, again.
Rustem.
Okay.
Again. It's this recurring pattern, isn't it? Royal pride, disaster, Rustem cleans up the mess. It really makes you think about what makes a good king. It's clearly not just power or lineage.
No kidding. Wisdom and humility seem pretty essential, and Kai Kaous seems short on both. Okay, this dynamic between the flawed king and the perfect hero is fascinating. But you mentioned tragedy earlier. Does it get darker?
Oh, it does. Much darker. This brings us to perhaps the most famous and definitely the most heartbreaking story in the whole Shahnameh, Rustem and Sohrab.
Father and son. I feel like I know where this is going, and it's not good.
It's devastating. So, years earlier, Rustem has this brief encounter in a place called Saum again. He meets Tamina, the king's daughter. They spend the night together, and a son, Sohrab, is conceived.
But Rustem leaves.
He has to leave. Before he goes, he gives Tamina an onyx armband. He tells her, if it's a daughter, use it in her hair. If it's a son, bind it on his arm. It's a token of his lineage.
Okay, a way to identify him later.
Exactly. But Tamina, fearing she might lose Sohrab if Rustem finds out he has a son who's already showing incredible strength, decides to conceal Sohrab's identity from Rustem. She tells Rustem it was a daughter. And she gives Sohrab the armband, but doesn't tell him who his father is, only that he's a great warrior.
Oh, that's the fatal decision right there, hiding the truth.
That's the core of the tragedy. Sohrab grows up, strong like his father, naturally. He becomes this formidable young warrior, and he becomes obsessed with finding his father.
He wants to know who he is.
Yes. His plan is actually quite ambitious. He wants to conquer Iran, find his father, Rustem, put him on the throne, and then together they'll conquer Turan.
A bold plan for a young man.
Very. But word of this powerful young warrior reaches Afrasiyab, the king of Turan. He's Iran's great enemy, remember. And Afrasiyab is cunning.
What did he do?
He learns Sohrab's secret that he's Rustem's son. And he sees an opportunity. He sends troops to support Sohrab's invasion of Iran, but he gives secret orders to his commander. Make sure Sohrab doesn't find out Rustem's identity during the battle.
Why would he do that?
Because he hopes they'll fight each other. If Sohrab kills Rustem, Iran loses its greatest champion. If Rustem kills Sohrab, Rustem will be devastated, maybe even destroyed by grief. Either way, Afrasiyab wins. It's pure manipulation.
It's evil calculation.
It is. So Sohrab's army marches on Iran. Kai Kaous, the Shah, is panicked. He needs Rustem. But Kai Kaous, being Kai Kaous, actually delays. He gets angry at Rustem for some minor perceived slight and takes his time summoning him.
Seriously, at a time like this, his flaws are really destructive.
They really are. Rustem eventually arrives, furious at the delay but ready to defend Iran. Before the main battle, Rustem decides to scout the enemy camp. He goes in disguise at night.
Okay.
While he's there, he encounters Zinda. Zinda is actually Sohrab's uncle, Tamina's brother, and he's the one person in Sohrab's camp who knows what Rustem looks like and was specifically tasked by Tamina to identify Rustem to Sohrab to prevent this tragedy.
Oh my God. Don't tell me.
Rustem, not knowing who he is or his purpose, fights and kills Zinda to maintain his cover. The one safeguard is gone.
The path to tragedy is now wide open. Fate is just cruel here.
It feels absolutely relentless. So the next day, the armies face each other. Sohrab demands single combat with Iran's champion. He hopes it will be Rustem, but he doesn't know for sure. Rustem steps forward, but he doesn't announce his name, perhaps out of pride or caution.
So they don't know who they're fighting?
They don't know. They fight. The duel is incredible, lasting 3 rounds, basically. The first day, they're evenly matched, exhausted. The second day, Rustem's actually thrown by Sohrab, but he uses a trick, a clever lie, to get a momentary reprieve. He tells Sohrab their custom is only to kill an opponent on the second fall.
Sohrab lets him go.
Sohrab, being young and perhaps a bit naive or honorable, lets him go. Rustem prays for strength, and the next day, his strength is supernaturally restored. He fights with renewed ferocity, and he throws Sohrab, and this time, remembering his near defeat, he doesn't hesitate. He draws his dagger and delivers the fatal blow. It's only then, as Sohrab is dying, that he gasps out, "If you are Rustem, know you have killed your son," and he shows the armband.
The reveal. I can't imagine Rustem's reaction.
It's absolute devastation.
Yeah.
The text describes him roaring like a lion, tearing his clothes, rolling in the dust, putting ashes on his head. He sees the armband, confirms his story with Sohrab. His grief is overwhelming. He burns his tent, his armor, all symbols of his warrior pride. Just utter crushing despair.
Is there anything? Can Sohrab be saved? Is there any magic cure?
There is. Rustem knows Kai Kaous possesses a special healing balm, the Nushtaru, that could save Sohrab. He sends a messenger immediately, begging the Shah for it.
Does Kai Kaous send it? Please tell me he does.
He doesn't.
Why not?
Kai Kaous, in his paranoia and perhaps jealousy, refuses. He thinks, if Sohrab lives, I'll have 2 Rustems to worry about, father and son, both incredibly powerful. They might overthrow me. So he literally denies the balm.
That's monstrous. He seals Sohrab's fate out of pure selfishness.
Exactly. Sohrab dies in Rustem's arms. Rustem is fundamentally changed by this. He falls into this deep, prolonged mourning. It's a wound that never truly heals. The story is just this perfect storm of fate, human error, manipulation, and cruelty.
It really is. Probably the emotional core of the whole epic, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it embodies so many of the Shahnameh's themes in one devastating narrative.
Okay. Where does the story go after such a profound loss? Do we see more heroes rise?
We do. The cycles continue. We meet another really interesting figure, Saoush. He's Kai Kaous' son, but raised and trained by Rustem. He grows up to be the absolute opposite of his father, a paragon of virtue, integrity, honor.
A good prince, then. But you said cycles continue. Does tragedy find him, too?
Unfortunately, yes. He's almost fated for destruction, despite his goodness. His troubles start with Sudave, Kai Kaous' wife, his stepmother.
What does she do?
She develops this illicit desire for him, like Potiphar's wife in other stories. Saoush, being honorable, rejects her advances completely.
And she reacts badly.
Very badly. She lies to Kai Kaous, accuses Saoush of trying to force himself on her, poisons the king against his own virtuous son.
So Kai Kaous believes her over his own son.
It seems so, or at least he's deeply troubled. Saoush, to prove his innocence, offers to undergo a trial by fire.
Trial by fire? Seriously?
Yes, he rides his horse through this enormous pyre and emerges completely untouched, smoke-blackened but unharmed. It's a powerful visual proof of his purity.
You'd think that would settle it.
It should have. And for a time, things seem better. Saoush is sent to lead a campaign against Afrasiyab in Tehran. He's very successful, forces Afrasiyab to sue for peace. They agree to terms, exchange hostages. A genuine peace seems possible.
That sounds like a good outcome.
But Kai Kaous is furious. He wanted conquest, not peace. He orders Saoush to break the treaty, break his oath, kill the hostages, and continue the war.
But Saoush gave his word.
Exactly. And for Saoush, his oath, his integrity is everything. He absolutely refuses to break his word, even under direct order from the Shah, his father.
What does he do? That's treason, isn't it?
It puts him in an impossible position. Rather than betray his oath, he chooses exile. He actually goes to Tehran, seeking refuge with Afrasiyab, the enemy he just made peace with.
Wow. He chooses honor over loyalty to a dishonorable king.
Precisely. And in Tehran, he's initially welcomed. Piran Visay, a wise and noble Turanian lord, recognizes Saoush's virtue and befriends him. Saoush even marries Firangis, Afrasiyab's daughter. Things seem hopeful.
But there's always a but.
There's always a but. Gursiwaz, Afrasiyab's brother, is deeply treacherous and envious. He poisons Afrasiyab's mind against Saoush with lies and slander. Eventually, Afrasiyab orders Saoush's execution.
No, even after he sought refuge.
Even then. And Saoush, true to his principles to the end, refuses to fight back against Afrasiyab's forces. He accepts his unjust death with dignity. It's a tragic illustration of the cost of absolute virtue in a deeply flawed, treacherous world.
Another good man destroyed. This epic doesn't pull punches.
Not at all. But again, the cycle turns. Saoush might be dead, but he left a son.
With Firangis, Afrasiyab's daughter.
Yes. His son is Kai Kaous, and he is destined, of course, to avenge his father.
So the grandson of the killer is raised to avenge the man his grandfather killed. That's complex.
Deeply complex. Kai Kaous is hidden away, raised by the wise Piran in Tehran, kept safe from Afrasiyab. Meanwhile, back in Iran, the hero Gushtasp has a prophetic dream. The angel Sohrab tells him about Kai Kaous and says he's the rightful king.
So someone needs to find him.
Right. Gushtasp sends his own son, Gu, on this incredibly long and dangerous quest to find the hidden prince. Gu searches for years. The sources even mention his rather extreme method for keeping the quest secret.
What method?
Apparently, he'd ask people if they knew where Kai Kaous was. If they didn't know, he'd kill them to ensure secrecy and maintain the urgency.
Wow, that's dedicated and ruthless.
Fierce loyalty. He eventually finds Kai Kaous, identifies him by a special royal mark on his arm, the mark of the Kayanian dynasty.
And they escape.
With help from Firangis, Kai Kaous' mother, they manage a daring escape from Tehran back to Iran. Kai Kaous then has to prove his worthiness to take the throne from the aging, increasingly ineffective Kai Kaous. He does this partly through a symbolic act conquering this magical fortress called Bahman, using wisdom and strategy, not just force.
So he becomes Shah, and his first order of business.
The vengeance, absolute vengeance for Saoush. He makes a solemn vow to the old Kai Kaous. He rejects any possibility of peace with Afrasiyab, even though Afrasiyab is his own grandfather. The personal vendetta fuels decades of war.
The long war. Does he succeed?
Eventually, yes. It's a relentless pursuit. Rustem is heavily involved, naturally. They chase Afrasiyab across the world, basically. Finally, Afrasiyab is cornered and captured, interestingly, by a hermit named Hum.
A hermit captures the king?
Yes, Hum finds him hiding near a lake. He brings Afrasiyab before Kai Kaous, and Kai Kaous executes both Afrasiyab and the treacherous Gushtasp, deliberately mirroring the way his father, Sayawish, was killed.
The cycle of vengeance is complete. Full circle.
Definitive closure. And after this, Kai Kaous reigns for 60 years. And it's a reign of peace, wisdom, justice, prosperity. A true golden age for Iran.
Finally, a good king who rules well and long.
Yes, but here's where Kai Kaous' story takes a really unique turn. One of the most fascinating parts of the Shahnameh, I think.
What's he do?
After 60 years of righteous rule, he decides to abdicate.
Abdicate? Just give up the throne. Why?
He becomes deeply spiritual, reflective. He fears that power, even justly held, will eventually corrupt him. He worries about pride, about forgetting the divine. So he chooses to renounce the throne, to pursue a spiritual path instead.
That's incredibly unusual for an epic hero king.
It really is. He gathers his nobles, gives this profound farewell speech. Then he journeys into the mountains with just a few loyal companions, Zalal, Rustem, some others. And eventually, he just disappears. Walks off into the snow, vanishes from the mortal world.
Wow. Not death in battle, not overthrown, just choosing a different path.
Exactly. It raises huge questions about power, leadership, spirituality. What's the ultimate goal? Is it earthly glory or something else? Kai Kaous' ending is incredibly profound.
It really is. A very different kind of ending. Okay, so Kai Kaous is gone. What happens next? Does Rustem finally get some peace?
Sadly, no. The twilight of the legends begins, and it involves another tragic conflict for Rustem. The new Shah is Gushtasp. And Gushtasp has a valiant son, Isfendiyar, who's also a great hero, associated with the new religion of Zoroastrianism.
Okay, a new generation.
Gushtasp had promised Isfendiyar the throne if he accomplished certain tasks, which Isfendiyar did. But Gushtasp keeps reneging on his promise. He's paranoid, clinging to power.
Sounds familiar, like Kai Kaous.
Very similar pattern. And Gushtasp comes up with one final impossible task for Isfendiyar to earn the throne. Go bring Rustem back to court in chains.
In chains, Rustem, Iran's greatest hero. Why?
Essentially, Gushtasp sees Rustem as too powerful, too independent, maybe a threat. He wants him humbled, brought under royal control. It's a terrible demand, born of weakness and paranoia.
How does Isfendiyar react? He must know Rustem.
He does. He respects Rustem immensely. He's very reluctant. He knows it's wrong. But he's bound by duty to his father, the king, and also by prophecies that maybe hint he could defeat Rustem.
Another fated conflict.
Absolutely fated. Isfendiyar travels to Rustem's territory. Rustem greets him with hospitality, invites him to feast, tries to reason with him, says, let's go talk to your father together.
But Isfendiyar can't accept.
He feels he can't.
Yeah.
His father's command is absolute. Bring Rustem in chains. He refuses Rustem's hospitality, demands he submits. Rustem, of course, refuses to be chained like a common criminal. So, tragically, they have to fight.
Rustem versus Isfendiyar, two great heroes.
It's a devastating duel. Long, fierce, both are wounded. Rustem feels deep sorrow fighting this noble young prince. He's pushed to his absolute limit. Rakush is injured too.
How does it end?
Rustem retreats overnight. His father Zal summons the Simurgh, the magical bird who raised him.
The Simurgh again?
Yes. The Simurgh heals Rustem and Rakush. And she reveals Isfendiyar's secret weakness, his eyes. She gives Rustem a special arrow made from a tamarisk branch and tells him exactly how to aim it.
So Rustem uses this magic advice.
He does, reluctantly. The next day, the fight resumes. Rustem, seeing no other way, fires the special arrow and strikes Isfendiyar in the eyes, blinding and mortally wounding him.
Another incredibly tragic moment.
Heartbreaking. And Isfendiyar, as he's dying, actually absolves Rustem. He blames his own father, Gushtasp, for forcing this confrontation. And with his last words, he entrusts the upbringing of his own young son, Bahman, to Rustem.
Wow, even in death he shows nobility and places trust in his killer.
It's incredibly poignant. And the aftermath is telling. There's widespread mourning for Isfendiyar across Iran. People openly blame Gushtasp for the tragedy, for his ambition and paranoia sacrificing his own son. The moral cost is huge.
It seems like the Age of Heroes is truly ending on a sour, tragic note. What about Rustem himself? How does his story finally end?
If the fight with Isfendiyar was tragic, Rustem's own death is. Well, it's devastating in a different way. It comes through betrayal. Pure, petty betrayal from within his own family.
Not another battle.
No. It's his half-brother Shugdad. Shugdad is envious of Rustem's fame and glory. He conspires with the king of Kabul, who Rustem had slighted earlier.
What do they plot?
They arrange a hunt. And along the path Rustem is expected to take, Shugdad secretly digs a series of deep pits, filling the bottoms with sharpened stakes, swords, spears, then covers them over lightly. A hidden death trap.
That's cowardly. Vile.
Absolutely. So Rustem is riding towards the hunting grounds, and Rakush, his incredibly loyal horse, senses the danger. He stops dead at the edge of the first pit, refuses to go forward, rears up, tries to warn Rustem.
Rakush knows.
Rakush knows. But Rustem, perhaps uncharacteristically impatient, or maybe fate just blinding him for a moment, gets angry. He actually whips Rakush, something he rarely, if ever, did. He forces the terrified horse forward.
Oh, no.
And they both fall into the pit, impaled on the spears and swords. Both rider and legendary steed brought down by treachery.
Just like that. That's such an ignoble end for the greatest hero.
It is. But Rustem gets one final act. Even dying, impaled in the pit, he sees Shogdad watching from a distance, probably gloating. Rustem asks for his bow and arrows, pretending he wants to scare away any wild animals that might attack his body after he's dead.
And Shogdad gives them to him.
Shogdad, thinking Rustem is finished, foolishly agrees. Rustem, summoning his last ounce of legendary strength, draws the bow and fires one last, perfect arrow. It pins Shogdad to a tree, killing the traitor instantly.
Wow. Justice, even in death. His last act is defiance.
His last act is justice. It's a devastating end, dying through family betrayal in a hidden pit. But that final shot shows his spirit, his power, enduring right to the very end. It marks the true end of the heroic age in the Shahnameh.
What an incredible sweep of stories. We've really journeyed through, the rise and fall of dynasties, epic battles, these moments of profound sorrow, and just the sheer strength of heroes like Rustem.
Yeah, from Khimers trying to civilize the world, right through to the tragic death of Rustem. These stories cover such universal human experiences.
So why do you think they still resonate? These are tales from over 1,000 years ago. What keeps them alive?
Well, I think it's partly that relentless exploration of human nature, isn't it? You see the corrupting influence of power so clearly with Zohak and even Kai Kaous.
Right, power corrupts. We still see that.
Absolutely. And the burden of duty, Heroes like Rustem, even as Isfendiyar, are trapped by expectations, the bonds of family, how powerful they are, but also how tragically they can be broken.
Yeah, the family conflicts are brutal. Faraddown's sons, Rustem and Sohrab.
Exactly. And then there's fate, that relentless march of destiny, sometimes cruel, sometimes just unavoidable. And layered over all of it, this constant theme of vengeance, the quest for justice, however bloody it gets.
It feels like this deep dive really shows how tied together personal character or lack of it and destiny are with the fate of whole nations.
It really does. The choices these individuals make, good or bad, they just ripple outwards, affecting generations, shaping the course of Iran itself and the epic.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This whole epic tapestry woven with fate, heroism, tragedy, it keeps making you question how much control anyone really has. What does it suggest about our own choices, how they echo, especially when you see even the greatest heroes, the wisest kings in this story, unable to completely escape the destiny that seems laid out for them.
That's a deep one. Something definitely to mull over until our next deep dive.